Alright, we're back. We'll be looking at the best CSGO settings in-game and out-of-game, and then some other things like Crosshair's Viewmodel, stuff like that. So let's get into it. Alright, starting off video, I mean, it kind of depends what resolution you're playing. I'm playing stretch, so I personally like 1280 by 960. You can go lower, 1280 by 1024. You can go even lower than that. 4.3, that's what we'll play if you're playing stretched. For advanced video settings, obviously one of the best FPS, so we're going to basically be going everything low besides a couple things that you should use if you're playing stretch. If you're not playing stretch, then I'll show you an alternative. So for global, we're going to have low, model we're going to have low, text streaming we're going to have disabled, effect detail low, shader detail low, boost player contrast and multi-core rendering, very important you have those on. Anti-aliasing, what you're gonna do, normally you can go a little bit high, but this is basically all like graphic settings. So if you have a little bit higher end PC, then you can put, I would say, 4 on, but if you don't, then just put none. I mean, I have a pretty high end PC, I have none on, I just want to know what FPS I can get. The FXAA we're gonna have disabled. So for stretch, this is very important. If you're not playing stretch, you want to go bilinear or trilinear, either or. Most people switch to bilinear. That's just for more FPS. I would put some amount on, so if you're not playing stretch, I would say 2 or 4. So if you are playing stretch, then you're gonna have 116 on. And this is a very important thing. A lot of pros do this, like simple. A lot of people that play stretch is that when you're stretched, right, it's not like it's just like zooming your game. It's stretching your game out. So as well as zooming, it's also stretching, so everything becomes very blurry. And what texture filtering does, basically, it's kind of like anti-aliasing, where it sharpens the game. For example, player model is just way clearer. Without it, it's like you're basically playing a blurry game. Like if I'm sitting on Inferno, I'm looking at apps, I'm not gonna be able to like tell the difference between a player and like the railing. So very important that you have that 16x. Obviously, motion blur disabled, triple monitor mode. I mean, unless you have 3 monitors, have it disabled. Wait for vertical sync, obviously. That's just a must, you got it disabled. Uber shaper is very important, you turn it on. Then audio, this is, to be honest, whatever you want, just make sure you have stereo headphones on if you're using headphones. One thing that a lot of people miss though, if you go on music, there's a 10-second warning volume. You want to have that not all the way up, but just enough to where you can hear it, so this will let you know that you have 10 seconds left to defuse a bomb. So you can always just keep track of time. Then this is my sense, I use 1.5 and 1.0 zoom sensitivity. I know some people like to do the math and have them exactly the same, because 1.0 zoom sensitivity and 1.0 mouse sensitivity are actually different. If you want to do that, I've always played 1.5 and 1.0. But if you want to look into that and research that, then you can do that. A couple more things we gotta do in game before we go out game. You want to download these 3 maps in the description down below. It's gonna be the Crosshair, Viewmodel, and Config Generator. It's gonna be helping you just get a bunch of settings down that you have to usually do in commands, or just make it a little bit easier. Alright, now we're on the Crosshair Generator. Basically, this is gonna be you know, a bunch of crosshairs are already preset. You can choose one. These are like kind of just like streamers and some troll ones, and you have the actual pro ones over here. I know a lot of these are outdated. I think I'm using, I forget whose I'm using. It's like simples, just without the movement. But you can choose any one you like, you know, just see what you like, then change the color over here, change the styles. And then if you want, you can come over here, you know, practice it, shoot some bots, whatever. Okay, for the Viewmodel Generator, if you want to, you know, do anything basic, I'll just go launders or whatever this is, wherever this says. Or actually, M-Star is really good too. Is anything that kind of gets your gun out of the way. You don't really want like gangster, obviously that's a troll, or just having this in the middle or M7. I feel like you kind of just want your gun out of the way. Over here, you can choose, you know, what hand you want. You can even like customize it a bit. So if you don't want to really just pick one, like the one you have, and you just want to position it different or FOV it different, then you can do it here. I have left hand right now. That's just what I like to use. The number one thing you gotta do here, even if you don't want to change anything, just make sure you put your view model movement on lowest, just so when you're gun shooting, it's not super crazy. I'm just gonna show you an example. It just moves a lot more when you just have low, then it's just, you know, out of your way. You don't really want to be looking at your gun, even though, you know, the skins are super nice or whatever. You want to be, you know, looking at your shooting at another gun. The last thing, one of the most important ones, is the config generator. This, you can choose all your settings that, you know, normally you have to just scroll through this thing, try and find it. It does have some normal configs like pro, community, donors, legends, whatever, but what you're gonna do, you can customize your crosshair view model. I mean, I'll use other ones for that, but for HUD, I like to turn it to red. A lot of people, what they do is at the top of the scoreboard, people have the non-profile pics. You can turn that off. Radar, this is an important thing. I have mine on centered, and then you want to make it, you want to zoom it out to where you can see the whole entire map, because normally it'll be zoomed in so far that you can only see like yourself and a logo around it. You want to see the whole entire map. One last thing on here is binds. I mean, you don't really have to do any of these, but jump throws are really important for lineups. You have to get them perfect a lot of times. A lot of them come down to literal pixels. So you can select a key to throw a perfect jump throw, and also to scroll and jump. I know people like to scroll down and you get just almost like perfect bunny hops. I don't have that on, but a lot of people like to do that. So if you want to do that, then you can go behind and set it. Okay, so one of the things you want to do, out of CS, now that we're out and we're done with the in-game settings, go to NVIDIA control panel. I don't have an AMD guide or an AMD PC, so I can't really help you, but I'm sure you can search for video, find the best gaming settings. So one of the first things we want to do, and a lot of people don't tell you to do, so when you go and adjust image settings all the way at the top right here, a lot of people say use my preference and put it on quality or on performance, right? What you want to do is you want to click the middle and use the advanced 3D image settings, and then just click take me there. So once you're here, you're going to want to copy all these settings. These are going to give you the highest performance, highest FPS, without really messing up any of the quality that you're going to be seeing. So you want to go through this, make sure all these are similar to mine, and one of the most important ones is all the way down here. You got to put prefer maximum performance, highest available, high performance. You just got to make sure you have everything on max and copy mine basically 1-to-1. A couple smaller ones you want to do, you're going to change resolution and make sure your refresh rate set at 144. A lot of times if you go in Ultra HD, you can't use your max refresh rate. For example, if I go in here, I can only use 120 Hz. You're just going to want to come down here, put apply the following settings, use NVIDIA color settings, and then put for desktop color depth, you want to make sure you put highest 32-bit. One more thing, I don't know if this is set for you, but make sure you have full instead of limited on. So a lot of times you wonder why my game looks so vibrant and looks so bright. A lot of that is just post-processing on editing, but a lot of that too is that I have my digital vibrance, that a lot of people do too, is you have an 80%. Not only does the color of your game makes things pop more, but also makes your whole entire PC pop more. I have mine on 80, so I would say I think a good base is 75. A lot of people do play on 100. There's people play on 100 like Hiko, for example. He plays max vibrance. I think that's a little bit too bright for me, but I go for 80. One more thing, come down and adjust desktop size and position. Make sure performance scaling on is on GPU and put 144 Hz if it isn't like that already. For adjust video color settings, make sure you have full on dynamic range. And now we're on to our last thing, which is CS. So CS, you want to do a couple launch settings. That's just going to make things a little bit easier, just not as much clutter, and also improve the performance. So what you're going to do is here come settings right here, click on this, click on properties. And right here on general, you have launch options. So I'm going to have this exact tag in the description. You're going to copy and paste in here. What you're going to do is this basically takes out the video at the start, applies a refresher, a bunch of stuff like that. It makes it just way smoother to play on. Only thing you're going to want to change is the frequency right here, 144. Change this to whatever your monitor's refresh rate is. So if it's 75, put 75. If it's 244, put 244. I have 144, that's just what my monitor's refresh rate is. Alright guys, that's gonna be all the things I have for you today. I'm gonna leave an AimBotz map so you can warm up or practice on bots in the description below, but that's gonna be it for me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.